Hello and welcome to the Bold Leadership Story Show, where we talk with leaders about their experiences that are shaping their exceptional lives. And today I'm excited to have I've met and arranged for a little chat here with Daneen Ashworth. And Daneen is an expert in human resources. She's got a great background for sounds like human resources. We're going to explore that a little bit today. The first thing I wanted to ask you, Daneen, you got the Entrepreneur of the Year Award for Murrieta and Wildomar Chamber of Commerce in 2017. How did that feel?
Oh, it really felt amazing. I really didn't start my business with a lot of budget and all of the bells and whistles, no loans. I think my startup cost was $1,000. And over and above that, I was able to spend as I earned. So it felt really good to be acknowledged that, yeah, the business is growing. I have got a good plan. I've got a good place that I'm going, good goals. And it was just really encouraging. It happened during quite a dark year. My
Mm.
dad had passed away,
Oh,
and it was huge for me.
so what was it that, it was a pinnacle moment, it sounds like for you.
Yes.
So describe for me what it was that, what was the feeling?
I mean, I think I was incredulous. It was like, wow, me? I
Okay.
don't remember going up to the stage and accepting my award. I don't remember any part
Well,
of
and
it.
that's not like you at all. I mean, you seem like a really confident, and you're up on stage a lot. You do, a lot of work with people all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
But it took you by surprise.
it did. I mean, I kind of floated up there. I don't know even what I said, and I floated down, and it was
Oh,
it was pretty amazing.
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So that's a great honor. That Entrepreneur of the Year, and you're still working. Looks like in doing entrepreneur support work. Uh,
Yes.
Looking at let's see, some of your background. There's a virtual enterprise program.
Yes.
What is for high school,
Mm-hmm.
for the Murrieta Valley High School? Tell me
Yes.
about that.
It is an amazing program. I started by helping out. I was just asked to be one of the judges. So these kids are at Murrieta Valley High School.
Okay.
This year there are two classes. Each class has a virtual business through it's an actual national program called
Mm-hmm.
Virtual Enterprise. And they have to have something that they sell at trade shows, both in person and virtual. Other schools are there and they can buy from the trade shows with their virtual money that they've earned through virtual payroll. So they have budgets, they have to incorporate, they learn about taxation, they have to do payroll, they have to do HR, really so many aspects of business. And then they compete, and if as they pass and go on to other competitions, they get to compete at the national level. And so I help them out on the HR side. Sometimes on the finance side, I do. My husband does own a payroll company. I started by selling payroll for him.
Okay.
And, so I'll pipe in with some payroll stuff there every once in a while as well. And also I own a business. So I'm not just doing HR. I'm running all aspects of my own business.
Yeah. So real powerhouse resource. What was it that spurred you to want to? You're volunteering for that, I'm presume.
Yes, they asked me. I said yes. I am very passionate about high school students in particular, but students of all ages, learning about real life things and coming into the workplace. College isn't for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, I went to college. Yeah, I think college is important, but everyone is not going to go to college realistically. People aren't geared for college. And the more real life experience you can get, the better you're going to be off. I also used to teach special education back before I had my own kids. And so education and students I'm very passionate about that and equipping
Mm.
people and things like that. Mhm.
Yeah. Looks like you've gotten several acronyms after your name now.
Yeah.
You've got Southern California Wine Country SHRM board. What's SHRM?
SHRM is SHRM. people say, "Is that SHRM?" No, it's not. It's Society of Human Resource Managers. It's a
Okay.
national group. It's actually international at this point, of human resources professionals. And we
Okay.
try to learn, my chapter puts on different events so that we can teach business owners and other HR professionals what they're supposed to be doing or not.
Okay. So it's more of an educational for the community, educational
Yeah,
aspect.
and just making the word of HR spread. HR has this, bad language, like everybody in HR is like from Toby from The Office. And no,
Right. We've all got these stereotypes. It's funny.
exactly. My
Yeah.
kids always say, "Are
Right.
you like Toby on The Office?" No, actually, I'm not. I'm a real person. There's
That's
rules, but I don't make them. And a lot of times I don't even agree with them, but we all have to follow them.
sure. Oh yeah. Well, it's good to have somebody who's got, a little sense of humor to kind of work through that stuff and give you a heads up
Laugh or
when you,
cry. It's
yeah.
one or the other in California in particular.
Don't get me started.
I know.
So, and you're a mentor for the okay, making a point to keep up on all new legislation, attending legislative updates. What are you, nuts?
I know. Yeah, a little bit maybe.
Southwest Legislative Council meetings and keeping contact with local government officials, city, state assembly, mayor, city officials. Wow, you should get the award for Citizen of the Year too. Why do you do all that?
That is, if people don't speak up in the business community, they're going to keep coming down with these rules from California.
Okay. Oh yeah,
And
and you see all that stuff.
I do. And I have firsthand, and it's like, I want to support this. I want to oppose this. I want to have a voice. Some of the ones that I sit in, they actually partner with legislators and propose, like actually get bills proposed.
Okay.
It's
Give me an
hard.
example of that. Have you got an example?
Yeah, absolutely. So CalSHRM, which is California Society of Human Resource Managers,
Uh-huh.
partnered with Senator Kelly Ciardo to do the Veterans Hiring Preference Bill. And so
Okay.
that one's
How long
going
ago was that?
it's this year. It's being proposed this year. It's going to
Wow. Okay. So this is
committee.
current stuff.
Yeah, it's going to
Cool.
committee coming up here. And
So committee, where do you go? Do you go up to Sacramento?
so right now they're looking for veterans to come and speak up in Sacramento. So I am not a veteran, so I am
Uh-huh.
not going to be testifying in that committee hearing. But right now it's a crazy year in Sacramento. I believe there are 66, if my numbers are correct, 66 employment related bills that have been proposed for this year that have to go churn through the process. Some will pass, some won't, and 33 spot bills that could be plugged in for employment purposes as well. So there's a lot to weigh in on. There's a couple to support this year, a couple of nice ones. Like I talked about Senator Ciardo's bill.
Uh-huh.
There's also one, I cannot remember who the author is, but with some workplace flexibility, some things like that. I'm always a big advocate of workplace flexibility. We have two opposing bills trying to increase paid sick leave for all
Mm-hmm.
employers. One increases it a little bit, but adds a bunch of beneficial components that really would be nice to have. So it's like, and the other one just increases it, more than doubles it, and creates all, doesn't create any kind of additions. So,
Mm-hmm.
there's some things to kind of watch before taking a stance on those.
So you keep up on all that. Wow. Your
Mhm.
knowledge base of that is
Mhm.
very deep. So you're doing all that as part of your responsibility, how you feel you add value to your clients. Are you doing it for
Absolutely.
free? I guess is what I'm asking for on your own time.
I mean, it's during work time, but I'm an entrepreneur,
Sure.
so
Yeah.
all time
There's,
is work
there's,
time.
there's no clock.
There is no clock, and no one pays me to come to these. So they are volunteer,
Okay.
but it does add value to my clients. And there will be times where I will send out an email to all of my clients saying, hey, this bill is coming down. We need to oppose it, or I'd love for you to support it. Here's a letter. Please send, put your information in and please send it to your legislator. Like,
Mm.
just bombard them with these letters because our voices do matter. As you know, people will say, oh, it doesn't matter. It does matter. People want to be reelected. And
Yeah.
if they receive a lot of letters, they might reconsider some things.
That's so important.
Mm-hmm.
That message right there is so
Mm-hmm.
important for everyone to hear, because I think you're right. From a marketing perspective, when you're a company and you're putting, $1 million out with an ad and you get 5 people come back and complain, you listen to that,
Right. Yes.
because that's a very small percentage of key people within your target audience
Mm-hmm.
that are listening.
Absolutely.
And each one of those people represents a lot of people who feel the same way, but just for whatever reason won't say anything.
Right.
So, gosh, it's good on you for taking that on and doing that. I mean, it's so important. And you're the first person I've ever met that's actually done that.
I geek out on it. I'm going to Sacramento
All right.
in May with a group with
Uh,
the Cal Chamber Legislative Summit, and we go up there and we actually go into the offices of our electeds or have them come to us in meetings and discuss things that are very important, key bills and things we want to talk about.
cool. So the beginning of your journey, you got certified doing all kinds of things, an aPHR and a SHRM/CP.
Mm-hmm.
And then you worked as in HR for a while, right? Before you started your own company.
I worked so I was selling payroll with my husband's company.
Okay.
And started doing a lot of, I don't want to say teachery, but I like to teach. I don't look at when I'm speaking in groups that it's public speaking. I look at it, I'm just educating.
When I saw you up on stage at the Cove during the Murrieta chamber meeting, you did a presentation there on updates coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved, your style. It's like, that's what it is. I really didn't know what it was, but your style is like a teacher. And it's like, well, I like this.
It is. I'm teaching, and you can do what you want. Everyone owns their own business. There's a lot of laws, and there are a lot of laws and regulations. It's each business owner's choice where they want to, if and when and where they want to take risks.
Yeah.
I'm not the HR police. I don't call anyone and tell, oh my gosh, this person's doing it wrong. My business owners know, like, I'll tell you and I'll fire back at you and say, I don't think I would do that. However, it's your business. You get to make, it's your choice. You choose.
Yeah, it's nice to have that objectivity, so you're not selling them on anything. You're not trying to move an agenda along. You're just passing information and teaching them, giving them, so that teacher thing is great. Teacher approach. It's having that just mindset of, I'm here as a resource, right?
Right. So back to kind of how I started. Yes, I started selling payroll, which my approach to selling payroll was very educational.
Mm-hmm.
These are your taxes. This is how we help. This is what, but more and more people had more in-depth questions. So I had to start researching more and more. I became a member of SHRM. I've always been very involved in the local chambers of commerce, in particular, Murrieta, Wildomar, and really just started. And so I thought, okay, well, there's a need here. And so I really partnered with another company who was doing HR for my husband's clients, but all of a sudden they started not doing it so well. And I was working hand in hand with the consultants while I was still getting my certification. And one of them looked at me and said, you just need to start taking clients because we can't do this right. They were a big box chain, and each consultant probably had 85 to 100 clients on their own. And they were supposed to see them twice a month is what people were that's a mathematic impossibility. If you have 100 clients and you have admin work to do and follow up and you're driving to and from, it's honestly, there's just not enough hours to be able to do that in a month. And so I started taking them, got the certification. Then because I realized, well, there's more than just my husband's company. I'd really like to open up my services to people who aren't just with his company. So that's when I incorporated Compass HR, and I work with him obviously, but I also work with other payroll companies as well.
Okay.
Mhm.
So you've found a niche.
I did. They're my
Yeah.
people, my clients. I hold my clients very close to my heart.
Mm,
I literally asked them in the beginning, how did they start and why did they start? Because I love to hear that. And where are they going and why do they want to go there? Because it makes a difference in how I'm going to partner with them in HR.
sure. So you mentioned in your bio that you got a background. You mentioned here already psychology and special education,
Yes.
human resources, many similar skill sets,
Mm-hmm.
such as advocating during emotionally charged meetings, addressing noncompliance, developing organizational systems, and individualizing services based on needs.
Mm-hmm.
So what got my attention on that one was advocating during emotionally charged meetings.
Yes.
I guess I've been in a few of those,
Yes.
but I'd love to get some feedback from you on what that means to you as an HR person.
Absolutely. So being a consultant, my own employees, I get to give them their commendations and give them that atta girl, atta boy conversations. My clients aren't calling me to come in and go give their employees commendations or
Right.
good jobs.
Uh-huh.
I'm coming in to sometimes do very difficult meetings, disciplinary meetings, terminations, layoffs, things like
The
that.
stuff that's not so much fun,
Correct.
but that needs to get done and done right.
It does.
If it's
And
not done right, yeah.
yes, and if it gets too emotionally charged, it's just not good. Honestly, most of the time when an employer is ready, or at least when my clients are ready to exit an employee, the employee, if they were staying, it's not doing them any favors. They're not growing. They're not reaching their potential. It's just not a good fit for the employee as well as the employer. And
Mhm.
so to come in and have those meetings, have I been threatened before? Yes, absolutely I have. Have I seen some interesting things? Absolutely. I had one where employee, after I terminated her, started ripping paintings off of the walls and stepping on them and breaking them, and then started running around the circular path of the hallway in the building. And they looked at me and said, do we call the police? And I just said, not yet. And I got her to calm down and we got her out. I've been stood over and shouted at it, but I don't raise to their level. You lower it. You want them to come down to your level.
So how did you learn how to be cool under pressure like that?
I
That's
think
I don't think you learned that in classes anywhere.
no, you don't learn it in class. I mean, as a special education teacher, I had quite a few children with emotional disturbances, and
Uh-huh.
I would have to watch them and see they're starting to ramp up. Hey, it's time to go take a walk. And I had people who stayed in the classroom. Let's go take a walk and talk before, trying to diffuse it before it got to that level. It's I don't think it's I mean, maybe it's learned way back in a way, it's just learned something through childhood or history.
Was there anything in your formative years when you were experienced anything like that?
There was a lot of conflict in my home growing up.
Was
So
there?
yeah, there
Yeah, I've
was.
had several people on the show that have shared some amazing stories of that. So it's definitely part of our lives and our success stories. And in the end,
Yeah.
it might have been something that spurred you to want to be and learn about psychology.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So can you share a little bit about that aspect of it? What was it that got you interested in psychology?
It's just always resonated with me. It
Mm,
is people are hurting. People have trouble communicating what they really mean. People don't even know in themselves what's going on.
Mm.
And to be able to study that, my favorite psychology classes, well, my favorite one was psycholinguistics, and it was studying some of the neural pathways through the brain. If someone, especially we looked at a lot of not language development, but people who had had strokes and how
Mhm.
parts of their brains had died off during that stroke, but how some people were able to reroute and the nerves went around that damaged area and they were able to regain some of their language capabilities.
Mhm.
It was an amazing class. I loved my abnormal psych. Really anything to do with the more medical aspect of psychology. I really enjoyed looking at the different disorders. And I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't diagnose, I don't know what medication goes with what.
Mhm.
But looking at the brain is just so mysterious and so amazing. I can geek out on medical stuff and natural medical stuff. I can geek out on all of that.
Oh, yeah, I've been geeking out on it recently. I had about 3 years ago, I had some pretty serious medical stuff happen to me and had to make some changes. And I've been studying. I've studied uh, the functional medicine side,
Mhm.
and I've changed my whole life program now. So I just finished a 6-day water only fast.
Good for you.
That's a part of that
Mhm.
as a way to give back to my body, giving it a rest
Right.
and giving it an opportunity to heal and de-stressing and just giving it some space.
Absolutely.
And that's just one facet of it, but it's an amazing thing to learn about, even in your 60s.
Mhm.
Like me, it's, I think, well worth it. And if you can learn it earlier, the even better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me about your interest in the medical side a little bit. What is it that got you involved with that?
So I love science. I've always loved science.
Okay.
In high school, it wasn't cool to be smart, so I was a secret science nerd. Um,
Okay.
I remember one time in chemistry, and I got a great grade in my chemistry class.
Okay.
We would always play like Jeopardy as we were going through and studying for
Oh,
chemistry.
that's a great way to learn. Yeah.
Yes, and so I was it was my turn I was competing against the other four and I was at the head, it was like a relay race and you just switched chairs the whole time. And I answered the question right. And someone said something like, "Oh, the blonde cheerleader, who knew she knew that answer?" And the teacher literally flipped out on them and went completely nuts, saying just because she has blonde hair and she's a cheerleader doesn't mean that she's not intelligent. And literally, I think it was the first time someone had gone to bat for me and called me intelligent in my life.
Okay.
And I loved science in college as much as I could. My major wasn't science, but I took science classes. I took some genetics classes and things like that. And
Hmm.
in when I was at junior college, my biology class, they were passing out the tests after, and then the teacher called my name to stay after class to talk to him. And I'm like, oh no, like what I
What'd
must
I
have,
do wrong?
I thought I did well on the test. And
Yeah.
so I went up there and he tried encouraging me to enter into a pre-med program.
Wow. Okay.
And I knew it was a lot of school. I knew I wanted to stay home for a time when I had children. And
Hmm.
so I knew medical field was not necessarily for me. Plus, I used to be a huge germaphobe, so it probably for real wasn't the right field for me.
Okay. Yeah. It's like a surgeon being afraid of having a fear of blood or something.
Yeah, and I can't stand needles, so I'm like probably not. I'll do the sciencey stuff, no problem.
Uh-huh. Yeah. My daughter's a nurse. She works in the critical care ICU in the
Oh
cardiac
wow,
unit. Yeah. So she's under pressure, saving lives all the time.
hats off to her, because yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing work she's doing.
Hmm.
And my other daughter is completely different. She's not, like you were mentioned earlier, some kids aren't academic. My other daughter is not. She didn't go to college, but
Yep.
she's doing great.
Mhm.
You know, she got certified as a dog groomer, and now she's
Nice.
working up a clientele for that and doing awesome and enjoying it. So
Yeah,
everybody's a little different, huh?
everybody is I mean, yeah, same kids from the same parents do completely different things.
Yeah, but doesn't mean they can't be successful in their lives.
Absolutely.
So we just encourage them and give them the space to be who they are.
Absolutely. Because at some point we have to let them adult and we have to step aside a little bit, even though we have great wisdom. But unless we're asked.
Right. Well, and the fruit for me is yesterday I got to spend a whole day one-on-one with my granddaughter. And it was so much fun.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was sweet.
Someday I'll be a Mima, but not yet. No one's ready. None of my kids are ready.
It's you want it to be the right time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, great. So Daneen, let's see. Now you're working on let's see, what is it that you're doing now? What fills your day and what drives you along?
So my employee, because we'll sit down once a week and I'll go over my schedule. We'll go over her schedule together and who's doing what and when we're going to come together and discuss cases and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she just looks at my schedule and she says, how does it all fit? And I'm like, it just does. I block my time. I'm very careful. I have blocks for times that I am meeting with clients or working on client projects, times that I'm doing the sales part, time that I'm working on my own business, working on invoicing, sending out my own marketing, doing those kind of planning, webinars, seminars, things that I'm going to be doing. And
okay, I'm going to share your website here while you're chatting about it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So
yeah,
can you see that?
I sure can.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, tell us a little bit about I'll pull up your services.
Absolutely.
You guys do a lot.
We do, yes. And different clients get to choose what service offerings that they want to go with. Basic compliance would be those files, the audit, the file maintenance, making sure everything's okay.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot of hiring and onboarding, thank goodness. A lot of employee handbooks. Everyone this year needed a refresh on their handbook because of the laws that went into effect. We look at Cal Savers, which is that secure choice compliance. That's mandated retirement for anyone who has 5 or more employees.
Okay.
In 2025, it's even if you have 1 employee, it's going to go all the way down. Wow. We look at performance reviews, disciplinary, really anything that an employer needs help with, we can guide them through.
So how does that affect like a brand new company coming on board or starting a business as an entrepreneur?
Mm-hmm.
That you have to put that into the initial plan for the finances, because that becomes an expense right away, right?
It sure does. And usually what we try to do, it just depends. So I start the process and every employer, I will give a free HR checkup. It's about an hour. We cover in an hour. I can't cover obviously everything. We cover the basics. Mm-hmm. And then I see, okay, I don't want to make someone fit into my model. I want to try to fit into what they're doing. And so we look at where they have need, and that's where we pick basic, enhanced, or premium services. We'll set up a setup package that might have the handbook, the file audit, maybe some sexual harassment prevention training. Maybe if they're just getting started, giving them some new hire packs and helping train them on how to do that. Mm-hmm. And so, we really just look at what do they need. If someone has some ongoing HR issues, or maybe they have someone who's getting ready to go out for surgery, and so they really need a lot of help with, their interactive process. Mm-hmm. And California Family Rights Act leave and state disability, we can help guide those discussions with them for that.
So from my understanding now,
Mhm.
it sounds like if you have a business, an ongoing business, and you're maybe a solopreneur, right? And you're looking at hiring somebody, and that's in 2025. That's just around the corner.
Yes.
So would it make sense to start looking at that now? And maybe it sounds like if I didn't have an employee now, but I wanted to see what was going to happen when I did get one, would it be a good idea to book that checkup with you?
Absolutely. Even just the new hire pack, a lot of people think it's just the W-4 and their I-9. There's actually 17 or more documents, pamphlets, different things that you need to make sure that you're having them sign off. And
Mm-hmm.
I-9s, a lot of what we'll see are companies are having the employee fill out page 1,
Mm-hmm.
or the employer is not filling out page 2, or they're not filling it out correctly. I've even had some employers who are still using the I-9 from 1986.
Wow.
Currently, the I-9 that we have right now is expired. USCIS has not updated it, so we're allowed to use the expired one until they come up with a new one. But, when we're doing a file audit, we're going to look at those dates and make sure that they were using the right form at the right date and that it was filled out correctly. You also can't keep I-9s in your regular personnel file. It has to be kept in a separate I-9 file, as well as any medical records, vaccination records, COVID tests, workers' comp records. Those all have to be in a separate place as well.
Okay. So all you got to do then, if you're interested, is book your HR checkup, click on that, contact us, and just fill in that little form and get her
Absolutely.
done.
Yes.
And then can they hire you if they want to as a consultant for HR? They probably don't have HR services on staff yet.
Correct. And, a lot of people won't until they hit about 50. 50 is about that number where maybe you're looking at, you might want to have an in-house HR person.
Mhm.
I do work with some of those companies, and their HR person is in contact with me. A lot of times I'm working with office managers in smaller companies who are tasked with accounts receivable, accounts payable, HR, hiring, answering the phone, doing administrative work. They don't have time to keep up with the laws as they're changing. I
Mhm.
actually, before this, was just on a webinar about a recent lawsuit having to do with separation or severance agreements.
Mm.
And it really is, I don't do those because I'm not an attorney. However, I need to know that that law has changed so I can make recommendations. And that
Mhm.
law actually was McLaurin-Macomb. And, there are some parts now that we can't include in separation or severance agreements. And there's differences now between supervisor and non-supervisor. So I've got to know those things.
Mm. So many details. It's incredible having a resource like you in a town like Temecula, Murrieta, Wildomar is a real blessing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I see that you said on your bio that you saw a huge void in the
Mhm.
support for medium and small business owners.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. How did you see that, and what was it you saw?
Well, as I was working with people, signing them up for payroll and working with them, there just wasn't a resource really for them. It was, you could contract with the big box company and you could get maybe seen once every 2 or 3 months, and they might take 6 months to get you your handbook. And when you call, you're not going to get anybody. What
Mhm.
do? Hey, I've got to fire somebody. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Most people just think you say you're fired and then the person walks out and they get paid on the next payroll. That's not how it goes down. Not how it's supposed to go down. You know,
Yeah. Well, what are some of the risks of doing that if someone were to do that?
yeah. So if you don't pay an employee on time and if you don't pay them the correct wages, you could be liable for up to 30, minimally up to 30 days of pay for each day the wages weren't paid. That's the max, is that 30 days. Plus, then there's other penalties, there's pay stub violations, there's all kinds of things. So if an employee took a late lunch or maybe took a 28-minute lunch instead of a 30-minute lunch and it wasn't caught and they're fired, you obviously have not paid them the penalty on their final check. And so then 30 days later, they're going to file a suit asking for all of this information. Oh, and by the way, it's a class action suit as well. And because it had to do with wage and hour issues. So now everyone in the company is going to be named in the lawsuit, whether they want to be or not. And we get all of their records too. And we're suing on everybody's behalf as a class action. That's a PAGA lawsuit. And, so it's trying, some people don't know in California, you have to pay out vacation or PTO. If you don't do
PTO is
that,
paid time off, right?
correct. Yeah. And
Yeah.
if you don't, it's considered wages in California. And if you don't pay that out at the time that they leave, it can't be use it or lose it. You could be open to a lot of exposure. Does it mean it will happen? No. Does it mean it could happen? Yes. When I see the lawsuits come with $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 asks, or even $1 million ask, it's heartbreaking for me to go through and do someone calling in who I haven't worked with before saying, I just got a records request. What do I do? Well, I don't tell you which records to send or not. Your attorney needs to do that. But I can look at your payroll records and see where you might have some exposure. So at least when you're going into the process, you might know. Because if you don't do a day-by-day audit of the time that they're asking for, the courts typically will assume every day had a penalty. Like if there was a missed meal break penalty, they're going to assume every day was a missed meal break penalty unless you can show them evidence that is contrary to that.
Wow. So when's the best time if I'm an employer and I've got an employee that I'm thinking isn't a good fit anymore?
Mm-hmm.
When's the best time to start a conversation with you about it?
Honestly, right away, like a lot of people like to let things build up. And then they're like, well, they did this and they did this and they did this and they did this. And I'm like, okay, slow down. Like, I want to fire them. And I said, like maybe we should have some documentation to show that it wasn't unlawful. Well, it's at will. California is at will. That is very true. California is at will. However, if an employee can show that there was any reason that they were unlawfully terminated, like I didn't know I was doing a bad job, they just terminated me. I'm over 40. It was age discrimination. That could be an issue. So we want to look at all of those things. And we really, honestly, just to be a good employer, with my staff, my role is to coach and teach and develop my staff. If I'm letting things happen that I'm not addressing, that's a me problem or a training problem. It's not a them problem. I need to correctly, it doesn't mean it has to be this big, long write-up or big, long process. I could talk to somebody, sitting right there in a chair saying, I see you've been late for the last few days. That's not normally like you. What's going on? To give them some space. Let's see if they have a medical condition or something.
Yeah.
They say, well, no, I've just been having a hard time waking up. Okay, well, you're expected to be here on time. We really need you here on time. Can you think of some things that could help you? Maybe you could move your phone across the room. So when your alarm goes off, you have to get up and walk across the room. Let's think of some ways to help you. It's a coaching opportunity. However, and then I'm going to summarize on my computer and I'm going to say, thank you so much for talking with me today. We talked about your increased tardiness. You are expected to be here. Our handbook policy 2.3 states that you are to be here and you are to be on time. That is expected. In the future, we expect that. Let's say we have a few more, then I'm going to do a written. Let's say we have a few more, I'm going to do a final written. If that's what it needs to. I'm a little more.
Well, it doesn't sound like it's that involved. It's
No.
just doing that
It's
and
just
having the
it's like a
paper trail.
mathematics equation. You just step 1, step 2, step 3.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's
Mhm.
really important to do.
Mhm.
Great. Well, boy, the time always goes so fast.
I know.
I have lots of more questions, but I think we need to wrap this up. So I'm going to ask just one more. Do you have time for one more question?
I do. Yes, I do.
Excellent. I want to find out from you on your whole history, and maybe even including when you were young, what was the boldest decision that you made and what were the consequences?
The boldest
Boldest, yeah, the
decision,
boldest leadership decision that you made.
the boldest leader. I mean, I think the thing that framed me into a leader is actually I had started a pull-out program at my kids' private school where I was working with kids who didn't fit into the mold, and I was helping tutor them. I
Okay.
went to the school and I said, hey, my daughter's getting ready to start college. It was years ago, and I need to be generating some revenue in my life. I can't do this volunteer. How about you pay me minimum wage for 2 full-time day, 2 days of work a week? That would be great. They said no because they were talking about the Affordable Health Care Act, and they couldn't hire one more person because that would have tipped them over into qualifying for that. And I was crushed, honestly. I was completely crushed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a woman of faith. I had prayed about it. I was very excited about
So
that
what was it
opportunity.
that you were crushed about exactly?
That they said no, and that my plans weren't going to happen. And at
Uh,
that point, that's when it clicked. I had gone to a chamber mixer with my husband, and he was kind of watching me, and he's like, I think you could do this. I'm like, no, I've not been in business. I don't know what I'm doing. He said, you don't have to. And I really wanted all of this training. And he said, no, I just need you to go out and sell. And I went out and sold, and I was pretty good. And it just like
yeah, imagine you
leadership.
were. You still are. You
Thank
got
you.
you got it. You got the gift.
I didn't expect it. And then when I started my company, I actually did start my company. I mean, it's a leadership thing to do, to start a company. I was a solopreneur. I had
Mm-hmm.
no employees at the time. My dad actually had, as he was dying, he was in and out of the hospital for 6 months. And I literally sat and worked with my laptop on his hospital bed, doing things and setting things up and talking to clients. And he had these conversations with me that we really hadn't had the rest of my life.
Oh, special
It,
time.
yes, a very special time. And so I guess if I had to talk about the riskiest decision I made, that it was probably starting a company when it was not ideal timing. There weren't butterflies and roses and champagne all around. It was a time of a lot of emotional turmoil,
Mm-hmm.
and it was rough, but
Yeah.
I took the risk and I kept going.
Well, good for you. Was it all worth it?
Absolutely. I would do it all over again. And I don't know that I would change anything. There was a time where I had some business partners, and I found that they were not a good fit for me. I know I'm going to go over a little bit with this, but I consider
Okay.
my company like a person. So I've nicknamed my company Bob. My company is Bob. And if
Okay.
I'm making decisions about my company, is this thing making Bob healthier or unhealthier? If it's something that's making my company, and it might be something I'm doing, it might be something on the outside world, how can I help make Bob more healthy? And I did have to separate from these partners.
Okay.
And it was risky. I wanted partners so bad because I'm extroverted and I need people, and I didn't want to be a solopreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I did it, and I had to stand strong and create those boundaries and say, no, it's not going to work.
Wow. So there's very bold
Mhm.
decisions and then backed up with action, and you created a tremendous success with your business and as a resource here in town.
Thank you.
So yeah,
Thank you.
it's very good. Excellent. Good job.
Thank you.
Great to get a chance to chat with you today. Thank you for being on the show, and look forward to sharing your story within and around Temecula Valley and the world. We're on YouTube, so you can you'll put your show up and everybody will have access to it.
Thank you
So
so much. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure. Is there anything as we wrap up that you'd like to say at the, to promote any events coming up or anything going on?
I mean, if anyone wants an HR checkup, I'm here. I can do it virtually. I can do it in person.
Okay.
If someone, I would love to have a few clients in Hawaii so I could have a reason to go there once a quarter and actually write it off.
There you go. So yeah, I'm sharing your website again.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, go to book your HR checkup right there. Go
Yep.
to mycompasshr.com.
Right. And if
And
someone just wants to get on my mailing list, they could go on there and click on that. And then when I respond to them, just let them know I do send out about every 2 weeks HR tips and tricks and legislative updates and things like that. So if you want to get on my mailing list, feel free to do that as well.
excellent. Well, thank you, Daneen.
Thank you.
And we'll be chatting with you. Hopefully I'll see you around town. No, I'll see you around town.
You sure will.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.